Jericho's Tell as Sultan. Do you know which city in the world is called the City of Palms? Jericho is known as the City of Palms due to the abundance of palm trees in the area, which is a notable feature of the Jericho landscape. The warm climate and available water resources in the region, especially the Ain es Sultan Spring, have allowed for the growth and development of lush vegetation, including palm trees. Jericho is considered one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, but it's important to note that identifying the oldest city in the world is often debated among archaeologists and historians, as the exact definition of a city can vary based on criteria such as population density, urban organization, and other factors. However, it is certain that the Tell es Sultan archaeological site, also known as Ancient Jericho, is located near the modern city of Jericho and contains remains of ancient settlements dating back over 11,000 years. Today, I will tell you a story that takes place near Ain es Sultan, but I won't reveal what the story is about just yet, because it's a mystery. A mystery that the characters in the story tried to solve. Let's see if they managed to unravel the mystery or not. The tribespeople usually gathered when important community issues needed to be discussed, when they wanted to repair some dwellings, or when there was a danger they needed to face together. But this time, the reason for their meeting was purely curiosity. Yes, you heard right. They gathered just to solve a strange yet pleasant mystery. The mystery was as follows. Many in the tribe noticed that if they were in a conflict with someone and happened to come close to the spring, something happened there, and they made up. They couldn't understand why, because none of them had the inclination to reconcile, but something emanated from that place that led them to resolve their disagreements. Some admitted they even fought or had thoughts of killing the person they had issues with, but if they reached the spring, their problem miraculously resolved. Everyone's curiosity was to find out why this was happening. Strangely, they saw nothing special there, heard no voices, and nothing happened. Yet their mood changed, and their problem was solved. Those who were peaceful and had no issues felt nothing of the sort. Only those with problems did. Therefore, the gentle ones couldn't solve the mystery because to them, the place was like any other. But the whole tribe was curious about what was happening at the spring, why people who would fight anywhere else reconciled there. So, they called the whole tribe to talk about it, especially those who had experienced the spring's beneficial power. They had to briefly explain what their argument was about and how it was resolved, if they saw, felt, or heard anything unusual that could have caused their reconciliation. They thought that by discussing it, they might find a common element present in all cases. The first two to share their story were two friends who had known each other since childhood and had a serious falling out over a hunt. Let's listen to what they had to say.
On the day we argued, we had gone hunting together as we usually do. We were lucky and brought down a huge wild boar, the biggest and fattest we had ever hunted. This actually became the reason for our argument. We couldn't divide it fairly. He took the better and larger part of the boar. When I told him it wasn't fair, he said he had a larger family than mine and therefore deserved more meat. But until now, we always shared equally. And besides, I killed the animal. He only helped a bit in catching it. It wasn't fair for him to take more than me. We argued badly and for a long time because of this, but as we were dirty, we also washed in the spring water, fell asleep there because we were tired, and after we woke up, we managed to reach an understanding.
So how did you make up? The people of the tribe asked.
He admitted that I deserved half of the boar, not less, and because he acknowledged that he had been unfair, I gave him the portion of the boar he initially wanted to take from me. That's how we made up. Since then, we always agree before hunting on who will take what share of the prey. When one of us needs more, we agree before the hunt that they will take more. But we try to share equally in most cases to avoid arguments, as we have been friends since childhood and don't want to ruin our friendship.
That's how the man recounted the argument and reconciliation. The next quarreling couple was up. There were two neighbors who never got along with each other and always argued about something. This time, they fought over a young goat.
As you know, I have been raising goats for a long time. I had a beautiful and gentle young goat that I wanted to keep for its good characteristics. intending to breed more goats like it in the future. But this young goat disappeared. I was convinced that my neighbor had stolen it, since it wouldn't have been the first time he stole from me. I was very angry with him. I went to him, and we argued. He didn't admit to anything, and I slapped him. He retaliated, but so as not to fight in front of the children, we went out to the field and walked to the spring. We argued all the way and even fought, but when we got there, we were so exhausted that we lay down by the spring and fell asleep.
So how did you make up? The people of the tribe asked them.
When we woke up, we accidentally noticed some blood tracks. We both followed those tracks, and not far from there, I found my young goat that we had fought over. It had been eaten by some animals, maybe stray dogs, leaving only remnants. That's how I understood that this time my neighbor was not to blame. If we hadn't come to this place, I might have killed him out of anger, and I would have regretted it if I had killed someone, especially unjustly.
But did you see anything unusual there, or did you drink from the spring?
We didn't drink from the spring because we weren't thirsty. We were too busy fighting, and we wouldn't have had time to drink. But we did see a large black bird circling above us. I thought it was a bad omen, but maybe it wasn't. Could it have been the reason for our reconciliation? That's all I can think about.
The tribe members took note of this detail, the blackbird, and wanted to see if it had also been seen in the cases of other quarreling couples. If it had been seen, they would think that the bird brought about reconciliation. Others thought of the spring water, but since these neighbors hadn't drunk from it, that seemed unlikely. However, up to this point, they had two hypotheses, either the water or the black bird. But let's listen to the testimonies of other people who quarreled and then reconciled at the spring. This time a woman took the floor. She had lived with her husband for many years. At first, they got along well, but recently they had started arguing over all sorts of trivial things.
Lately, he always tells me that I'm clumsy, that I do everything wrong, nothing pleases him. One day I dropped a ceramic pot and it shattered. He started yelling at me again, calling me ugly names, and gave me the nickname Susa, which to him means the clumsy one. I cried and left the house, but before I went out, I put on a necklace with a boar tusk amulet that my grandmother gave me to protect me from evil spirits. I put on the amulet and left. He ran after me, and I ran faster until we reached the spring. There, exhausted, we sat down, argued, and fell asleep. At some point, we woke up to some terrible noises. It was the growling of dogs, but it wasn't just one dog, there were many. The dogs attacked us, and we fought them off with great difficulty. After that, we went back home, and since then, everything has been fine between us.
But how did you make up? Did you drink from the spring?
No, we didn't drink from the spring.
And did you see the blackbird?
No, but I had the amulet around my neck, and he, realizing that I was in danger and could be lost to him, probably understood how dear I am to him, even though he saw me as clumsy. Since then, he has never called me clumsy again. That is our story.
And so the stories continued, many of whom had reconciled at that place by the spring, but the connections were elusive, and there seemed to be no common element. Some of them had drunk from the water, but not all who reconciled did. Some saw the blackbird, others did not. This woman wore an amulet, others did not. Thus, the series of elements present during the reconciliation of some, but not all, continued. Some still believed in the power of the water, others in the bird, others in the amulets, and some said that the place itself or the earth there was enchanted. The discussion became so heated that it nearly erupted into a collective argument, with someone even suggesting that everyone should go to the spring immediately. But someone in the crowd had an idea to ask the tribe's wise man for his opinion. This wise man was a reclusive, silent individual who never spoke unless asked. But many times he was the only one in the tribe able to resolve various situations. So they asked him to tell them who was right. Those who believed that the water had the power to reconcile, those who believed in the black bird, or the amulets. The wise man replied as follows.
It is not the water, nor the bird, nor the amulets that hold the power to reconcile. The true power lies within yourselves, in your hearts and minds. I believe that neither the water, nor the bird, nor the amulets, nor any other objects are the cause of your reconciliation. The only common element I have observed among all of you is that you all fell asleep by the spring, and reconciliation came after you woke up. I believe that it wasn't the place that reconciled you, but the sleep. And not necessarily the sleep itself, but the fact that you interrupted the argument and postponed it for later, some of you until the next day. This means that you didn't seek revenge immediately in word or deed, as one of you said you were almost about to kill the other, but you left it for tomorrow. And the next day, when the mind is clear, judgment is different. Then, rational thinking prevails, not negative emotions. Therefore, regardless of whether you were by the spring or at home, you would have achieved the same result.
His words were followed by a deep silence. At first, they seemed to agree that the old man was right, but there were still some skeptics among them who asked,
How can we be sure that you are telling the truth?
I have a proposal. Tonight will be a full moon. Starting from today until the next full moon, all of you who quarrel with someone should, instead of seeking revenge, postpone it for the next day. And the next day, do as your mind advises you. But be sure to go to sleep one night before you take action, or continue the argument.
Everyone agreed, and they left home satisfied. What do you think was the result? I'll tell you. Until the next full moon, people changed incredibly. It's as if they all became angels. They didn't argue as much, they didn't fight, and they didn't kill each other. They became much happier than before, even richer, and they were very grateful for the wise man's unraveling of the mystery. This is where my story would end if I didn't know one more secret related to this mystery, a secret that even the wise man didn't know. This secret is as follows. There were 2 trees there near the spring, unnoticed. They didn't even have names of their own. They resembled today's cypress or juniper trees. They emitted a not very strong scent, but one that had a calming effect on troubled people. Calming and slightly sedative, soporific. So, the wise man was right. He revealed the most important factor of the mystery, but there was still something he didn't know, something that truly made that place special. These 2 trees with their scent helped those who came near them to fall asleep, but their change in disposition was not solely due to this scent. It only contributed to their improvement. This fact was not known to this wise man, but neither was it the most important thing to know. My story ends here, but I invite you to listen to a few historical truths related to Jericho and Tell es-Sultan. Truths that are in no way less interesting than the story itself. Jericho, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, is located on the West Bank. Tell es-Sultan, also known as Ancient Jericho, is an archaeological site situated near the modern city of Jericho. It represents prehistoric Jericho, one of the oldest and most important archaeological sites in the world, with an extremely long history spanning several millennia. Jericho is referred to as the City of Palm Trees in various ancient texts, including the Bible, because the warm climate and water resources available in the region, especially the Ain es-Sultan spring, allowed for the growth and development of abundant vegetation, including palm trees. The Tell es-Sultan archaeological site is located very close to the Ain es-Sultan spring, just a few hundred meters away. This spring has been essential for the continuous habitation of the site over the millennia, providing a constant source of water for its inhabitants. Proximity to this spring was a determining factor in the development and establishment of the settlement since ancient times. In the Stone Age, people in the Jericho area primarily lived in tribes and smaller communities, which were generally nomadic or semi-nomadic. These groups were involved in hunting, gathering, and later in agricultural practices and animal husbandry. Permanent settlements appeared later with the development of agriculture and sedentary societies, but in the early Stone Age, the predominant lifestyle was nomadic or semi-nomadic.